I founded a country right here in my basement. Well, not literally, but metaphorically. It was a little thing I did. I admit it started out as a psyop against my brother to assert that the basement was now my place to do my thing. So let's rewind. 5 years before the founding of Henryos, that's what I named it, my brother got his first Xbox 360, and this is where he played his games and did his voice chat thing, which, if you're watching this, no ill will, but I'll admit it wasn't. It's not something I enjoy hearing it at random. That being said, I'm not gonna. I would never try and force him to stop to this day because I accept that we both live here, I and the noise from me doing this video right now might be annoying someone, but we all agree to live together as peacefully as possible. However, since fast forward to August of 2018, right after uh, my aunt's funeral and my brother moving out for college, I was free to turn the basement into my own little playroom, if you will, for myself. Mostly for TV, movies, and video games, and a couple of creative things along the way. So, literally, he's straight from the luncheon after my aunt's funeral. I went to the South Shore Plaza to go to the Yogi Bo store and buy my Yogi Bo mats that I use right now up in Henry's Mojo Dojo dormitorio bedroom. But at the time, it was actually for right where I'm sitting right now, actually. Yeah, right. Yeah, because right across from me was a stand for a TV and a TV, obviously. Yeah, when I got home, I set up to. So yeah, I went to the Yogi Bo store, tried it out, then bought one and loaded it into my car and brought it home. It was quite the experience walking through the mall, all carrying that huge Yogi Bo Max. Then I had to get a little creative with putting down seats to fit it in the car, but I got it in there and I got it home and I started setting up Henrio's. First, I emptied out anything that wouldn't serve me. Then I set up the Yogi Bo Max, plugged in my Wii U, my Switch. Why would I forget about the Switch? And then I think by that point I'd. No, it was afterward that I bought the PS3 from my cousin along with all his games because he was stashing that at our grandparents' place, which is where my aunt, his mother, had been living. So I bought the PS3 off of him after that. But anyway, getting back to the main point. I figured out where I wanted to put everything and such. I decorated the walls with various posters I'd acquired from event store events and such over the years, and began wrapping up playing Pokemon Crystal because that was my primary video game at the time. See, that summer I did it was an even 15 weeks of summer vacation, so I had decided to dedicate 5 weeks each to Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal version on the 3DS. Because back then I still had the 3DS. Yeah, the Switch was still relatively early in its lifespan, so I wasn't completely done with the 3DS, and there were still some Street Pass tags out there. Anyway, I was wrapping up Pokemon Crystal while I was down here, and then oh, I also had a GameCube that I bought from the GameStop website with a Game Boy player that I bought on eBay. So I set that up as well. Basically, I had way more consoles than I did right now. I still actually have the PS3. I just don't have it hooked up to anything because I don't really care much for the hassle of having it set up. Like my I like my Switch because it's the tablet format, so I can take it out of the dock if the power goes out. Which, a little update on the video, if I didn't scrap this video, then when the lights flickered, that was because of the really high winds that were going on. See, that's why I like the tablet format of the Switch that plugs into the TV, because if the power goes out, I don't lose my save data. I just take it out of the tablet. I take the tablet out of the dock. I can keep playing or save my data. If I don't get the chance to save my data, then clearly something far worse than just the power going out because a branch fell on the power lines or the winds were that bad or something like that is the least of my problems. Oh, yeah, a good that's a good setup that I like having the tablet. Anyway, after I picked up my books for the new semester, I sat down and started playing through Pokemon Ruby on the Game Boy player. Yeah, this was back when I still had the other games. Oh, I forgot. I even designed my own flag for Henrios. Yeah, I declared myself the Fun Lord, and this was my kingdom. Fast forward to when my brother first came home for a little bit. I spent as much time down here as possible, even sleeping down here once or twice, which I wouldn't recommend. Because while the Yogi Bo Max was pretty good for lying down, it wasn't that good. Not to mention, the air quality isn't quite the same. Obviously, it's not too bad right now, but long term, it is what it is. Yeah, I'd always wanted a space like that. I had as much to myself as possible because I had to share a room with him until he moved out. And then I had to have all my electronics hooked up to the shared TV upstairs, which thankfully was no longer the case. It was really nice. I kind of wish I'd tried setting up what I would now call Henry's Mojo Dojo dormitorio bedroom back then instead, because I realized some of the pros later, which we'll get to in a bit. So yeah, after all throughout senior year of college, I had this place to come back to play my video games, watch my TV episodes, watch my movies. And then during my NEET period from May of 2019 to July of 2019, I did that. Oh, I also like I also actually did like having a separate space for movies, TV, and gaming compared to having a space just for a separate space for that from my sleeping space compare which was probably for the better in terms of sleep quality and such. So yeah, I had Henrios for about 19, 20, 5.5 years. I came up with this whole culture where I gave people a name that went some kind of nickname I came up with, their government first name, and then how they were connected to me. So, for example, uh, okay, you get the idea. Yeah, I was gonna give an example, but then I'd have to specifically name someone, and I try not to use specific names here. I also came up with the whole calendar that I told you about in my video about how I track the eras of my life, where I have the Henrios years. That's actually how I separate my photos and videos for within my personal folder. So after the post college epilogue folder, all the photos and videos are just HY blank. So HY9 in the case of 2020, the first full year that I wasn't in any sort of formal education. So right now is Henrios year 14. So yeah, I had Henrios for about 5.5 years until one Sunday last year while I was playing Spider-Man 2, the PS5 game. I was in the zone, and then a mouse came running across the floor. I noticed it. Ugh. Sorry, I'm getting a little. I. Ugh. Sorry, It's just that I'm sitting right where it happened. I was sitting in a more cushy armchair. This is just a random lawn chair I set up. And so it was that day that I decided to abandon Henrios and migrate everything upstairs. I negotiated a different TV with my dad because I went through two different TVs, no, three total. And let's just say that we traded the TV down here for the one that they had up there for me to put up in Henry's Mojo Dojo Dormitorio bedroom, as I named it. And I migrated everything upstairs. I used a monitor, small computer monitor as a holdover until I could get a more proper TV. And let's just say hey, long story short, I migrated everything upstairs and I abandoned some things down here. And then my dad rearranged some of the furniture, and now I decided, since the mouse incident had only was the only major incident, there was like one or two other situations where one popped up, but it was nothing. But that day made me realize I can't just. It made me realize that I didn't want as the problem with being down here, whereas up there I plugged a potential hole one could come out of with that aluminum scrubbing thing. So I'm 2 floors up and out of its reach, hopefully. I should probably also vacuum more frequently to make sure that to reduce the risk. Another con of the 5.5 years that I was down here that I realized in regards to using this particular space for movies, TV, and gaming is my dad would come through to do laundry every now and then, which I don't fault him for. I don't hold it against him, but I would. But up in Henry's Mojo Dojo Dormitorio bedroom, that's not a problem because it's not the halfway point between the rest of the house and the laundry room. And I've got the monitor on the other side of this phone that I'm recording on that I can use for to have sort of an office, if you will. Of course, I'll admit I do a decent amount of my video editing up on my Yogibo Max in Henry's Mojo Dojo Dormitorio bedroom. I should probably strive to do a little more down here in Henry's Mojo Dojo Officina office. It's also where I did a lot more of my writing last year because separate space for work and a separate space for entertainment. So yeah, I still use Henrios for the names of my devices. Like my Apple devices, I call it I have mine listed as Henrios iPhone, Henrios TV, Henrios Apple Watch. You get the idea. So on that note, I'm going to leave it here for the video. Comment down below how much you value your personal space and whether you prefer keeping entertainment and workspaces separate. Give this video a like, subscribe for daily videos, and I'll see you soon.